Hello and welcome to Crafting and Disenchanting Guide. This is a follow-up video to my tier list of legendaries from Rise of Shadows. Here we'll go for the similar idea. I will just put those cards in tier list. Also, I will go from the oldest to the newest expansion and tell you why they are worth crafting or just disenchanting. And first we'll start with classic packs. We've got Tyrion Forging, which is a pretty powerful thing. It might be even included in the God tier, but it also can be countered by the Polymorph or any kind of silence effect, so there is a counterplay, but the card in itself is great if you will get this Ashbringer. And also a weapon can be countered by the Ooze, but yo, card is powerful. Grimoire Hellscream good, but not in this meta, because we want to play this in, for example, some sort of Tempo Warrior or something that includes Whirlwind or Warpath, let's say, and use this as a finisher. But right now there is no this kind of tech. We play with Control or Bomb Warrior. Like here, I have to say that it's pretty mediocre. Like it's not really as that broken. It's pretty okay. Sometimes you can get this out from random effect, trade into something immediately. But right now it's only included in Big Shamey, and this is a bottom of tier 2 and maybe like even top of tier 3 deck. Rule. Easy Dust, it was never played competitively in any kind of deck. Archmage Antonidas, once again, I think this is a pretty powerful thing, used as a finisher and something like Freeze Mage, which is actually a thing right now after the buff of Luna's Pocket Galaxy, and also at the same time it works really well with the Cyclone Mage, just as an alternative win condition. Baron Geddon, I have to say that is pretty mediocre. It's played in some sort of control warrior or control decks in general to just counter any kind of token strategies or just something that floods the board, but still it's more like a tech card for the specific meta that rarely works. Prophet Felon, potential for future because card in itself it's pretty good. In stat lines you can get more healing or just burst your opponent. It was a thing when we played with something like Resurrect Priest. Right now there is no potential to just kill opponent in one turn with Mind Blast, so basically Dan Felon is a little bit weaker, but still this is a pretty okay card. Cairn, it's a mediocre thing. It sometimes it's played in few decks, especially in Big Shamey or control decks or just any kind of more aggressive decks, because it's sticky and it's hard to kill. So even if you get a little bit less stats, your opponent won't be able to just play one Shield Slam and kill it. They will basically need 2 interactions and the thrill is decent. Hogger, no way. just no. You might say, oh, okay, but after 2 turns you get more stats than just Boulder Fist Augur, which is a 6 mana 6/7. It still sucks. No way. Storm Rage Dust. You will say, oh, but there is one rogue deck that would like to play this because we can combine this with preparation and few other things, and it's basically a Gadget and Auctioneer, but you develop a board. No, just no. It's bad. Deathwing, a mediocre, aka bad. Sometimes occasionally it's played in dragon decks, not now, but I speak about a completely different meta, and then you slam this as one of your last cards, so you don't really curse that much about the discard, and you also kill opponent's board. But basically if Deathwing will get super popular, Big Game Hunter will approach as a counter, whatever. There are so many ways how you can just punish this kind of play, and right now there is not even a single deck that wants to play Deathwing competitively. So if you've got it, you might not test it, but do not craft it, definitely. The Beast, hell freaking no. I would prefer to play Boulder Fist Augur, get a little bit less attack, and give my opponent a free. So also King Mukla is better. The Black Knight, pretty mediocre. It's good in the specific meta because you will be able to counter a big taunt minion. Stat line, yeah, it's pretty weak, but for example, if you remember the meta when Ancient of War was a thing, a 7 mana 5/10 taunt, and you kill it and also develop a minion, which is just 2 mana more expensive than the Chillwind Yeti. Hell yeah, I would love to play this kind of thing, but it's only an answer attack card for the specific meta. Captain Greenskin, once again, it was played, it was bonkers, and something Tempo Rogue, but right now, without the preparation and raiding party, like when both of those cards were nerfed, no freaking way, so it's just pretty mediocre. Once again, like, mediocre cards might find a place in the meta, in the specific condition situation with a lot of support, and only in like 1 or 2 decks. Harrison Jones always finds a place in the meta because sometimes it's just better than Ooze because you can also draw cards. I have to say that this is a pretty good card, even if sometimes there is just no place in a specific meta for it. Then Leroy Jenkins, once again, you might argue with it, but this is a god tier. In almost every single aggressive deck you want to play this, so even if like card in itself can be more or less replaced with Reckless Rocketeer, it's still a really powerful option and it's included in a lot of decks. So this is like one of the top 5 most popular legendaries right now in Hearthstone, and it always played Edwin. Once again, Rogue is almost always a really powerful deck, and I have to say it's good, or maybe even in god tier, really, because like, to be honest, no matter what kind of expansion we'll see, Rogue always, just always plays Edwin Van Cleef. Like, okay, nerf of preparation, I still want to play Edwin. Nerf for Tempo Rogue, I still want to play Edwin. So basically, it's nuts. It can win you game just like that. You will play a huge Van Cleef, your opponent won't Financer, they just concede, or you win in like, let's say, 2 turns. King Mukla, rest in peace Harambe, that's a meme. Tankmaster over Spark, that's a dust. Sometimes it's used as a tech card in a specific meta where you want to polymorph, and for example, Control Warrior do not have any kind of polymorph effect, and then you just slam it. So basically, like, you might say, okay, potential for future, but it's more like a, if you're not a Control Warrior player, you might just test it. Blood Mage Talnos, that's a good card. Not in the god tier, but still, like, whoa, that's a really powerful thing, because you might say, oh, okay, it's a 2-mana 1/1. Okay, what can I replace? Can I replace Blood Mage Talnos? Oh, maybe with a Loot Hoarder or Kobold. This 2-mana 2/2 gains spell damage +1. No, basically you can just, like, those 2 characters, like, got, you know, a little bit, like, too close to themselves, and then you got the Blood Mage Talnos from this relationship, so you really want this kind of stuff. Lord Worker Cho, I hope that I do not have to explain it. It's trash, you never want this kind of thing. It's like, it dies for... okay, trash, just trash. Alex, pretty powerful thing. It almost always finds a place in the meta, or any kind of like combo deck. If you want to set up some sort of damage in dragon decks, yes, it's pretty good, because you can not only set up some sort of combo or OTK, but at the same time you can just heal yourself. Millhouse Mana Storm, no. Do you want to let your opponent just play a ton of spells and win the game? Probably nope. Nat Bagel, okay, it's trash, just dust it. Scenarios, once again, it's pretty mediocre. Sometimes it's played, for example, in some sort of like token decks as a finisher. In itself, you might say that, yeah, okay, but the amount of stats that I get for 9 mana is pretty solid. Still, it's almost never played, so it's pretty mediocre. Then we got the King Crash, which is once again pretty mediocre. Nothing special about it. It was a thing, for example, in the big recruit hunter, but right now you just never want to play like 9 mana 8/8 charge, even if it's like 8 points of damage. No, just no one plays this kind of stuff. They just prefer to die or Frenzy Master's Call, whatever, on Huffer, and you've got almost the same effect, and it's better because you will get more cards. Jirax is good, but not in this meta, because it's a pretty solid thing. This is basically like a win condition for a lot of decks, especially for something like a Control Warlock and Handlock. Right now, Handlock is a mediocre deck. Not like the, you know, tier 1 deck, but still, you can have a positive win ratio. Maligus, I have to say that this is good, like, because it allows to create a lot of combo decks work, and even if right now it's slightly worse because we do not have like many weird effects like Emperor Tourist tend to just gain a discount on our cards, it's still a pretty solid thing. Nostormu, just no. There was one deck that was based on like trying to make your opponent concede or you won the game because of some sort of bug that basically your opponent lost a turn when you played this and curse or something. But it's still like, yo, it's weak. Onyxia, it was played in 1 token Druid like maybe like 1 year ago, and that was the only deck that used Onyxia, and even then it wasn't really as that necessary, so basically it's dust. And it's another pretty powerful thing. Good in most of control decks, dragon decks, you can just gain additional value, good in big shamey, so there are a few decks that want to include this kind of stuff and, you know, just pure value. And with legendaries, we start with the Camellios. On paper this is a good card, but in the execution it's just trash, like you don't really want to play this, it's too random, you don't really want to rely on your opponent cards, and especially not in this way. It's basically played in Meme Rogue, and it's played for the reason you steal your opponent cards and then you might win, so basically it's a meme but card in itself, it's pretty okay. Face Collector, just dust, you might say, oh, okay, legendaries equals fun and a lot of power level. Not really, because right now, as you can also see, a lot of legendaries are in like dust tier and most of them need a specific setup, so legendaries do not always equal like, oh, I will win the game, that's perfect. Because you can also get the not payable, for example. Splintercraft, that's a dust, this card is really weak. Lex Fallen Aviana, you don't really want to help your opponent too much to win the game. Amaris, that's more like a meme, I would say dust, but meme most of the times equals dust, because there is no powerful deck for it, but you can OTK your opponent with Boar, so I say that I just, you know, rate this a pretty good meme if you kill your opponent with a 1 mana 2020 Boar. Okay, so then we've got Houndmaster, that's a pretty powerful thing, it's hard to kill, good stats, just a good solid thing. Toki, I have to say that it's dust. It was never played in any deck unless someone just like played this for fun. But in the end, stats are low, effect is too random, and just like I said, random legendary from the past won't win you the game. It might help, but Archmage Arugel, it's pretty mediocre, or like maybe even potential for a future, because this requires a specific setup, but value is pretty okay, so basically potential for future, I would like to say, yeah. Also right now it combines with Book of Spectres to just refill your hand, so it's not like a super trash. Prince Liam, change your 1-drops into legendaries, I'm not sure if we call this a meme. Like, there might be potential, or it's just mediocre. It was played in not Paladin, right now Paladin is not a thing, so maybe in a specific deck with a weird setup it might work. Then we've got the Glass Knight. I would like to say that right now Heal Paladin is not a thing, but the card in itself, like 4 mana for a free Divine Shield, okay, it's almost like a piloted Shredder, but also it can be reloaded when you will heal yourself, so I really like this kind of mechanic. Lady in White, just pure dust, because a lot of people like try to make this playable thing, but it never really works, like mechanic is super weak. We need to draw this first and play understated minion to gain some sort of value, not really worth it. And it was never played in a competitive deck, by the way, so it's more like a dust. Shadowwalk is pretty solid. I might even say that this is good. It was good in the past, right now it's pretty solid in the control shamey, in Murloc even deck Murwalk, because basically you play Swampkin Hagata, a little bit of Murlocs with Balcries, and then Shudderwalk as a like win condition, and I think there are always decks that want to play Shudderwalk, so as long as this will be in standard, it will find a place. Hagata, whoa, I might even say like good, or maybe even God tier. Okay, that's good because it's not really like as that consistent. Maybe like as Dr. Boom Mad Genius and Balacry, it's like, yeah, cool board, clear. But Dr. Boom Mad Genius will allow you to also trade into something, so I have to say that this is a really solid good thing in any kind of like slower deck, but also in Murloc deck you can just get more spells to win later. Good, but not in this meta, because Lord Godfrey will allow you to clear the board, which is a pretty solid, consistent and good thing, like a bigger Defile with also body on top of it. But the problem is that Control Warlock is not a thing right now. Handlock is also a little bit weak, but if we'll see just a little bit more support for this kind of archetypes, this will be definitely played. Glinda, meme potential for future. I would like to say potential for future because this card is not like is that big trash, but you know, you can also disenchant this and feel probably pretty good about it. And then we've got Black Hole Gunspire. I'm not sure if you remember this tournament when someone decided to like, I will leave the Gunspire on board, nothing wrong will happen, and then the opponent just ODK'd them in one turn, on one turn. Wow, that was amazing, but to be honest, it's just dusted. But you know, meme equals probably the dust, unless you want to like play for fun, whatever. Okay, Darius, pretty solid, good thing. You can also get this with the Town Crier. A lot of people just said like, wait, what is this legendary? It's trash. No, it's not. You basically kill something and your opponent will need to trade into right away, and also Town Crier makes it even better because you thin out your deck and get a specific card, which is pretty good. On turn 5 you just kill one minion. Azalina, good, but not in this meta in my opinion, because you can just like steal something that your opponent got in their hand. It might also... It's good for the aggressive decks, for control decks, just as some sort of refill, or just like meme potential, whatever. Even in like control mirror matchup, you can still steal like the Archivist that your opponent got in hand, so it's pretty solid. Ashmore. Potential for future, but I don't really want to say that dusted, because basically it's something like a better version of Ancient of Lore, but at the same time it was never played in like super competitive tier 1 deck. It was mostly like included in tier 2 decks. And then we've got Duelmaster, meme or just dust. I don't know, like those memes are not good, so basically we'll just dust it, because it was like it was never played in a competitive deck. Even in meme decks it was like rarely even played. It's just super weak. And right now we'll jump into the Boomsday project, and also because of Rise of Max, few of those cards got the buff, so also I will take this into consideration. First we've got Serek Master Cloner, which is dust. You might say that, yeah, okay, it's pretty cool because you can combine this kind of effect with the Undata, go for the infinite board, and there is a meme potential here, but not really. Even if like potential with future, even if we'll get like few cards that will cost 0 or 1 mana, I don't really think so that this will be super competitive unless you can like recreate this kind of stuff and create few infinite boards, if one is not already enough. Whatever. It's bad. This one, I don't really see this potential. Theoretically you can gain like more value out from it, but even then I think it's a little bit weak, too inconsistent, because most of the times the deferral effect that you will get is not really worth it, and the stat line is like really bad. Very unstable elemental with the preparation nerf is a little bit worse, but I have to say that it's mediocre. There is a potential for a future that it will get buffed, so it's basically between something like good but not in this meta. You can still like, you know, play this, get Pogo Hoppers, whatever, shuffle more of those cards into your deck, but it's just pretty mediocre really. The Stormbringer, this is one of those cards that got the buff, and right now it costs 6 mana. Once again, I think it's pretty mediocre, because yeah, okay, it's pretty cool to create the huge legendaries. It's really easy to swarm the board with little guys to then turn them into legendaries, but sometimes it's not like super consistent win condition. You can also replace this with the Bloodlust and then just kill the opponent, but the manufacturer is pretty high, so like meme or mediocre. Electra Storm Rage, I think right now there is no like good deck for it, but yes, this card is really good. Basically you will get another spell. It synergizes really well with Bloodlust, with control decks, so there are a lot of good options for this kind of thing, but right now there is no specific deck that wanted to play this kind of effect. Dr. Morrigan, another card that got buffed. Right now it goes 6 mana. In some sort of cube block, maybe it would make sense in big Warlock, but cubes are in wild, and yeah, big warlock is not a thing. I tried to make this kind of deck. It's just like, you know, pretty bad, pretty damn bad. Solarium, that's really good. Maybe not the god tier because you can't really include this in like every single warlock deck, but it's a pretty solid thing. And for example, Zoo, the boom ship. There is one deck which is a Malygos warrior or like a big warrior, but both decks are pretty mediocre, aka bad. And even if you will say like, yeah, Malygos deck, Malygos warrior is not really as that bad. Malygos Mechatoon warrior, yeah, that's pretty important to say because then you just like ODK your opponent. There is still just a different win condition. You don't really need to play this card, you can just replace it or run a different version, whatever. There is no need, you can just play the Galvanizer, make a Mechatoon cheaper than just Shield Slam it. For example, Dr. Boom Genius, you want to play this in like most of the warrior decks at the moment, so this is a god tier, it's good, it's really freaking powerful. Maybe like card itself is just good, but what makes it better is that basically you'll get rush to all those different mechs, and because right now we've got like so many mechs, after you will play this, it's really hard to maintain the good board presence. So god tier, and also all those hero powers that will allow you to gain evil or more mechs, for example, from the delivery run. Do you know what, maybe because it's a little bit like inconsistent. Okay, card in itself, it's just like good. Mechatoon, this is a good thing right now. It's like maybe good, but not in this meta. It was bonkers in the previous one, with a little bit more support or just like more cards in general. I think this will still make a comeback to the meta, and we'll see more Mechatoon decks. It's just a matter of time. Flopiness Floop, good, but not in this meta, because really, if you want to like ODK your opponent with the Malygos, yes, hell yeah, I would like to include this. Yeah, this is a good card, but just not in this meta. You can, whatever, just, you remember the combo of the Cernite Chain Gang, later it got nerfed, but it's still a good thing. Oh, Zilliax is a god tier, like, okay, so good that I decided to change the position of the Dr. Boom Genius, because Zilliax is amazing. This is like the best legendary, one of the best legendaries right now to craft, to play, like, yo, that's amazing. It's in something around 50% of the decks at the moment. It's amazing. Subject 9, pretty mediocre. It's only played in Secret Hunter, and yes, in Secret Hunter you can't really replace this, but it's the only deck where it's included, so it's pretty mediocre. aka if you are not going to play any kind of like deck that plays with secrets, even in like Paladin is weak, in Mage as well, really, because in Mage you've got like most of the time it's just 2 spells that you want to play, so it's weak. Whizbang is a god tier if you're a new player, so basically I will like place this here, or like, oh, that's so it's not a meme because it's not like funny, but really, if you're a new player, Whizbang is amazing for you, really. For other players that have enough dust to experiment and craft different stuff, it's just better because those decks most of the time suck, because you will have something around a 50% win ratio. Really, there are a few decks that have even like a 55 up to almost 60, but there are a few decks that go only 40, so, you know, in the end, it's just like the balance between 50, so I have to say it's a god tier for new players, otherwise it's bad. Harbinger Celestia, no one ever played this competitively. It's trash, it's bad, no freaking way. Flips Clotter's Clip, and this is a really tricky thing, because at some point you might say, yeah, okay, it's good, but look at this. We've got a really good, powerful deck, which is a token druid, and you can play this kind of thing, especially in this kind of deck that relies on a huge wide board with a lot of minions, and even then, we do not play this, because most of the times we do not really need this specific mana. So in maybe like more expensive version of a token druid, I would like to play this, but in my opinion this is dust. No way we'll play this, except something like the weird miracle druid that might occur, but like, yo, in the new expansion. So I would like to say potential for future, but right now it's really bad. There is not even a single deck that would like to play it. Lark's Bamzuka, another thing that got buffed, but still it won't really matter at 7 mana. It's still really weak. It's just a fun combo with Revenge of the Wild, so then you might say, oh, okay, meme, but right now dust. Boommaster, this card alone is weak. but in the mech deck, it's pretty good. So it's like really hard to say because you've got those legendaries that are not really as that powerful, but because like there is one dominating deck that would like to play this, then it's good. So basically it's not good alone, but it's good in this specific deck. So it's like hard to really rate this, but yeah, there is like one deck that will love to play it. Luna's Pocket Galaxy, another thing that got buffed, and right now it costs 5 mana, and there is a pretty good freeze mage deck, and I saw a few deck lists that players, pro players experimented with this kind of thing, and at 5 mana it's actually like decent. It's decent with all those big minions, so I would like to say it's mediocre because it's not like game winning, broken, whatever. You just skip the whole turn in order to get a small benefit. Okay, a big benefit, but you need to wait for it. So basically I would rate this mediocre, and still you do not necessarily need to play it. In my opinion, do not craft it. If you've got it, you might like experiment with it a little bit, or maybe even like dust it. Then we've got Stargazer Luna. Stargazer Luna is really good. It's played in Cyclone Mage right now, but any kind of tempo or aggressive mage that might show up in the next expansion would love to play this. Love the stat line and the effect, because this kind of card draw is way better, for example, than the Acolyte. You can at least play Stargazer Luna for tempo, and the odds that it will be killed are way lower. So yeah, and really good card. Kangar's Endless Army. You need to play a specific Paladin deck that relies on like you know, plays just big minions, not something small like Mekaru, whatever. So it's decent. Maybe like even good, but not in this meta. But I saw a few mech paladins, and right now it's like slightly better after all those nerfs and buffs. So I would rate this a pretty good, solid card. Crystal Smith Kangar, another thing that's played in like Control Paladin is not a thing, but the ODK Shirvala Holy Rough Paladin. Yeah, so like it's a good card, maybe not specifically in this meta, but pretty good way to heal yourself, and it's a little bit annoying because of this Divine Shield and the stat line. And Zerek's Cloning Gallery, it was bunkers in the previous meta, right now it's just like, meh, why would I ever play this? So you might say dust, but I see a potential in the future if they will support this a little bit more, if we'll get any kind of like a way to cheat on mana, any kind of friend elemental, whatever. So with Prophet Felon, maybe we'll have some sort of good ODK, or maybe with the throttle cards in the future, we might see this card in play. Finally, we've got Rest Against Ramble, and we'll start with 170. So this card is dust, really. I tried to make a deck around it, but even with this spirit that will shuffle more 1-drops, it's not really worth it. Even if like statline is not really as that bad, the condition to fill your hand with 1-drops, it's not really amazing. Captain Hooktusk, it's good, but not in this meta, I think. There is like one pretty powerful deck with it. It's like Tempo Rogue based on pirates, and you've got like few big boys like Cursed Castaway and also Ticket Scalper in order to get those things, but really that's not like the most dominating deck at the moment, and the card in itself, it's not really worth it. You can just play a normal Tempo Rogue, you do not really need to craft it. So just because it's not necessary, why would you craft it? If you've got already this legendary, you can play this kind of version. Growl, mediocre or just bad in general. It can be countered pretty easily. There are a few players that try to squeeze this in like few rogue decks, but it's just like inconsistent and it's not really worth it. So just because of it, I don't really see like big potential, except like you can combine this with darkness, hell yeah. So then it's a meme. Okay, just because you can combine this with darkness, I will rate this here. Ragwa, a good card, but maybe not in this specific meta, but you can play this in almost every single Shamey deck, no matter if this is an aggressive version, because you can get more burst spells. If you play this with control, you can gain, for example, more healing or board clears. So I have to say that it's pretty good, but for some reason players do not include this kind of option. But I would even rate this good thing, but whatever. Maybe it's just the case that we do not have like too many powerful spells. Yeah, whatever. Kragwa is good. Gunk, I mean, because you can already kill your opponent, but at the same time it's dust because it's not competitive. Okay, makes sense. Wardred Lottie, good, but not in this meta. It might be included. That's the interesting part about it, because this card is good, It's super flexible. You've got like 4 choose one synergies, whatever. You can just like include this in almost every single Druid deck, but for some reason people do not play it. So maybe it will see more play in the future, or maybe it's just like because it can be everything, it's at the same nothing. So Zul'jin, that's amazing. Like basically this is one of the most consistent and great win condition for almost every single hunter deck. You can play this with their Frenzy and Master's Call, refill your with Unleash the Beast. You can also create the huge board. So basically you create the board, you draw cards and shuffle cards into your deck. This is amazing. Halazi, okay, just it's super weak because the stat line is super low, and at the same time you do not really need those small beasts that will just rush into something. Hexlord Malakras. I would like to say that there is a potential for future, but in the end it's just like inconsistent, and 8 mana 5/5 draw 3 or 4 cards. No, just yeah, it's weak. Dragonhawk was super powerful, and when Outmage was a thing. I think there is a potential for future if they will just introduce any kind of like buff to the hero power, but at the same time I don't really want to say that this is a dust. It's just like potential for future that it will be buffed. Shirvala is good, but right now it's only played in Big Duel Paladin, which is more like here. And also we've got ODK Shirvala Paladin, and it's pretty necessary in this kind of deck, and no, you can't replace it, sadly. So I would like to say that it's good, but not in this meta. Maybe if you will see just a few more cards to support Control Paladin in general, Shirvala will just, you know, race to top. High Priest, another good thing, but not in this meta, because Control Paladin or Heal Paladin is not a thing, but card helps a lot. Also in Wild, but in Wild not standard, it can be combined with Mountain Giant, so basically you slam this on turn 3 and play 0 mana 8/8. Maybe even like 2 of them. Princess, basically if you will have minions from your opponent deck, it fits a little bit to some sort of like stealing priest, whatever. Like you just steal cards from your opponent deck and then just play this and you win the game, but most of the times this won't really work, and against control decks, like they might have board clear anyway, Brawl, Warpuff, Twisting Nether, Blizzard, Flamestrike, whatever. It's just like, it's pretty bad. Zentimo, it's good, but maybe not in this specific meta. You can also play this in some sort of like overload mid-range kind of shamey, where you've got Earth and Might, and you can just buff your minions. You can also combine this with Zap or just any kind of like burst spells to clear. Yes, it's good, but not in this meta. Heroic, like what the this bad is like so bad. Just like pure dust, easy. I have no idea. They probably printed it just to make like 8 drops worse, because right now when you evolve something to the 8 drop, most of the times you had this kind of thought in your head, oh hell yeah, I will get something powerful like Tyrion Forging, or like there are a lot of powerful 8 drops like even Grommash Hellscream or Alakir the Windlord, and right now you get a 1/1. Not always, but it happens pretty often to me, so never lucky baby rage. Jack, like, it's really bad. This card, Warlock, almost never works. And they always try to like push this and print more cards to support this kind of stuff. I don't really get it. Akali the Rhino, I think there is a potential for future, because this card is it's pretty solid. You trade into something right away, your opponent will need to take care of it. Also you draw a card, and this card is amazing, and also because there is rush, you can just like immediately trade into something, or okay, on next turn, but still this is pretty solid. But maybe in like next expansion we'll see, but if there won't be like too many rush cards, it will just like go down to the dust. Then we've got War Master Voon. Wait, what is this? Like, at some point you might think like, hell yeah, I would like to get few dragons. This is a good card, and also I can play this in the right moment when I need this like specific card, but it was never played. So maybe if they will print more dragons, it will be better, because this card is not trash. Like, I don't really want to like dust it or recommend it, but still, for some reason doesn't work because we need more dragons. Then we've got Hakar. It's more like a meme because it's not really as that consistent and powerful, but it's not basically like a reliable win condition. It's mostly just for fun. You can combine this with Rafam, Princely, and whatever to get rid of it. But right now, when Archivist is a thing, a lot of people and control decks can just like counter this kind of mechanic pretty easily. In this step, this is a good thing, but not in this meta, because like we need few more beasts basically, or like good deck that relies on big beasts. And right now, when we do not have like this recruit big beast hunter, it's just way worse. The Unera, it's not really as that competitive. It's just mediocre, but with few specific powerful deferral cards, it makes sense to play this kind of stuff. Mojo Master, it's really good, but not in this specific meta. If there will be like more, let's say, control decks, or basically some sort of combo, so DK send this kind of weird stuff and shenanigans, you can just counter it pretty easily, because right now we've got a different meta. It doesn't really make sense to play Mojo Master, but there is a really great potential for it in future expansions. And Grifter, okay, just this is like the good way to put it. Like Grifter is on the bottom because it's really like a stat bad. Even if like stat line is okay because it's a Chillwind Yeti, you don't really want to give your opponent additional card, and it's a 50-50 that they will get something good or bad. So you don't really want to take this risk unless you know. You like this kind of stuff, but it doesn't really make sense. Easy dust.